How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another episode of
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
It's the Halloween special!
I'm perfectly capable of telling people that this is the Halloween special.
But you don't have to do that because I'm here.
Yes, a fact that you remind us of every time we do one of these videos.
You're repeating yourself at this point.
Yes, you are not wrong. I have covered this hero before, but I didn't cover him properly. I used to do MLJ months for a good while, and when I did MLJ months, when I first started them, I didn't have the research material, so I only was able to cover them through just what I've been able to find, descriptions and talks about him. Now that I've had a chance to actually read the comic books, I can do a much better review than I have before. So we're adding this review to the Lost Heroes format. And I have to tell you, this guy was majorly different from any of the research material that I read. He is far more in depth than people would describe about him. He is a ghost superhero. And one thing I did fail to mention in the opening when I talked about him is I did mention he has two identities, his ghost form and kind of a civilian identity. And in the ghost form, he is known as Mr. Justice, but in his civilian identity, yes, I'm using the air quotes and you'll understand that, he also was known as Mr. Justice. Now, that is something I failed to mention before. I really didn't pick up on it until after I had just was doing the editing and going like, why do they keep calling his civilian identity Mr. Justice? How did I miss that when I first started doing the reviews? I was mostly just going over his powers. Now, this is sort of an interesting thing. Since he is a ghost and he occasionally went after street criminals, he mostly had to deal with either Nazis or things from a supernatural sense. A voodoo witch doctor, a zombie master. He even went to the land of the dead and assisted death. Also, a number of times he dealt with people from the land of the dead, demons, and all sorts of other stuff. So it was mostly the supernatural element that he had to deal with. Now, as being a ghost, the story can be uncompelling if he just went after criminals, because how are you going to stop somebody? He is a ghost, so his civilian identity form is a corporeal body that he made on his own, which really didn't have to worry about suffering damage because he's dead. He's been dead since the 1500s. Anyways, I thought Mr. Justice was interesting enough and a perfect thing for the Halloween special. So, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to give you a pretty good rundown of Mr. Justice, where he appeared in the comic books, and then we're going to go over the origin so you can see how he first appeared. And I have to say, his first appearance was nothing like I saw in his wiki pages. So, let's get into this on the Lost Heroes of the Golden Age. Mr. Justice, Prince James of England, first appeared in Blue Ribbon Comic Books number 9 in 1941. The publisher is MLJ, and he is created by Joe Blair and Sam Cooper. Now, Mr. Justice is a really unusual creation. First and foremost, he is a ghost that helps to fight crime. And in fact, he actually takes on, he fights criminals at first, but then he actually takes into fighting supernatural type enemies, which actually makes more sense. If you're going to be a ghost, criminals stand no chance. So to be compelling in any way, you would have to fight something that is supernatural. Now, he does go after people like, I think there was a voodoo witch doctor, and the master of zombies. But for a lot of his episodes, he actually takes on and fights the devil. And they don't actually call him the devil at first. They call him a unnamed demon, and he first appears as dictator. And they're showing that it's this dictator who is responsible for the creation and the forming of the Nazi Party. And they don't actually go out and call them Nazis at first, but the swastikas make it very obvious who they're being. Now, Mr. Justice would take on a fair amount of Nazis in his comic books, which, I mean, look at the sign of the times. Of course, every superhero is fighting Nazis. It was propaganda. So he appeared in Blue Ribbon comic books 9 through 22 and Jackpot comic books number 1 through 9. The interesting thing about Jackpot comic books is they printed once every 3 months. So Blue Ribbon comic books would be coming out monthly, while Jackpot comic books was a tri-monthly comic. And the tri-monthly, they would have their own stories, which was a little bit longer than the other stories. They would have some of their big people in there. Sterling Silver, Jack Boyle, Mr. Justice, and the Black Hood. And their stories would be a little bit longer than normal. And at the end of their stories, they would say, hey, this is coming up in the issues that will be coming over. Like in one of the Blue Ribbon comic books, they say that Mr. Justice will be going up against a demon who they would later name the devil. I mean, it's very obvious it's the devil. Trying to make him an unnamed demon just didn't make any sense. He's red, he has a pitchfork, he has horns, a tail. It's the devil. Duh. I don't know if they had something about not being able to call them the devil back then. I don't know. So when Mr. Justice would first appear on the comic books in number 9, it's interesting. He would take the featured cover, and he would take the featured story, and that was kind of unusual for a new character, because usually a new character they would introduce him and see if he gets any traction, and then if he's popular enough, then he would take over. But as soon as he premieres, he is the premiere cover and the featured story. And actually, he would go on to be the featured cover and the featured story until I think it was issue 15. And after issue 15, they would introduce a new character, the Flag. And the Flag and Mr. Justice would share a few cover issues together. 16 and 17, and I believe it was 18 that they shared. 16, 17, and 18. Now, 18 is the last time that Mr. Justice would appear on the cover of Blue Ribbon comic books. And also, which is interesting about this, is in number 18, Captain Flag would take over the featured story and would be the featured story until Blue Ribbon Comics ended at number 22. And for some reason, Mr. Justice from 18 to 22 became a backup feature. He is the very last story in each one of the comic books. Now, I don't know if being the backup feature meant that he wasn't very popular anymore, or if they relegated him to the back so his stories would be easier to find. It really didn't make much sense for a guy who was a premiere cover and a premiere and a featured story to get relegated to the back. Now, maybe people weren't so fond of the supernatural element anymore. I mean, he fought the devil for a lot of issues, and then he fought a couple of devil's minions. For, I think it was 3 issues, he fought a green monster who could take over people's bodies. And then about that time, they started coming to the end of him fighting the devil, And then he had a couple of one-off villains, and then Blue Ribbon comic books would come to an end. And I don't know if there was any real reason for it. I mean, Blue Ribbons was okay. It appeared a lot of things: the Flag, Orangutan, Richie the Amazing Boy, Mr. Justice, of course. But I mean, it wasn't too bad. Now, the weird thing about Mr. Justice is he keeps making a corporeal body that he leaves his ghostly form, leaves the body, and the body stays around, much in the same way as Phantasmo. But in the issues, we find out that he doesn't need the corporeal body to leave from. He can actually make his corporeal body disappear and reappear at will. So why they even made the effort of having him leave the body didn't really make any sense if he could just make the body disappear. I mean, all he needed to do was just, be Mr. Justice and be back in his corporeal form. It was a weird thing. And I think he works with the mayor. And I think he starts a relationship with the mayor's daughter. But, that was something that was common in the Golden Age. The hero, of course, was always going to have a girlfriend and be connected in some way where he would always understand where criminals and crimes were going on, even though he didn't go after street thugs. Now, he had a measure of strength in his ghost form. It didn't appear that his corporeal body could come to any harm, considering that he could just make it disappear as he wanted to. There wasn't much that could stand in his way. A couple of the mystical elements were able to subdue him, but he was able to easily overcome them. And the one thing I'm trying to pin down the most, and I think I got a good handle on this, he has a kind of a precognitive sense of things that are supernatural and don't belong in the mortal world. It seems that he's able to pierce the veil to see the things that don't belong there. And I'm showing you a couple of pictures here where you can kind of get an idea. Now, this didn't happen a lot, but it was just like, hey, I know something supernatural is going on. This guy doesn't belong here, or that shouldn't be there, or something ghostly is on its way. So it was kind of a precognitive sense, but only if it was supernatural and would need to involve him to take care of it in some way. I mean, he didn't see the future if there wasn't a supernatural element involved in it. Now that's just pretty much the that's pretty much what it is for Mr. Justice. The ghost, he has ghost powers like being able to fly. I don't think I mentioned that, but I mean, he's a ghost. Of course, he can fly, walk through walls. There really is no point in the corporeal form, but I think maybe he needed that form to be able to interact with the world around him. I mean, he certainly didn't need that form to get in anywhere. He was a ghost, and nothing could stop him as the ghost. So, I mean, that's why they had to make supernatural elements, because, I mean, a ghost is unstoppable, he's unbeatable, he's not compelling, but with what they had him fighting and the people he had to go after, it was slightly compelling. Now, it looked like he had the ability of hypnosis to a degree, but that didn't play into a lot. But I noticed in a couple of issues he was able to use the hypnosis. So, you'll get a little bit of a better feel when we go over his origin story. It's very succinct and quick. I mean, they want to get into the story quickly, so there's not a lot of exploring the origin, but at least they give us an origin. That's better than... I mean, MLJ was pretty good about showing you how characters were created. That's a lot better than some things in the Golden Age where they said, here's the hero, accept it, let's get on with the story. So at least we get a little bit of an origin story, as silly as... I really wouldn't say it's quite as silly, but it's an unusual way to form the creation. But, I mean, when you want to bring in a ghost into the modern age, there's maybe not a lot of ways that it can be done. But you got a pretty good rundown of who he is and what he can do. We're going to go ahead and cover the first issue, and I think that you will have a pretty good grasp on who Mr. Justice is. Mr. Justice by S. Cooper. You see the splash page here. Resting on the boundary line between Scotland and England stands the ancient castle of Solway Firth, erected in the year 1540. The medieval fortress has withstood countless scores of attacks. Now, in the year 1940, a new and terrible enemy hurls down tons of thunderous destruction. But in the releasing of their rackloads of death, the invaders are about to release from death the most bewildering, the most incredible, and the most mysterious man Earth has ever known. As the enemy's plane roars overhead, a guide and several tourists huddle inside the castle, trembling in fear. So what we see on this splash page is actually going on. So they are being bombed at the moment. There's the all clear, and now if you'll follow me, we shall conclude the tour. I mean, that's an incredible thing. Okay, we're not getting bombed anymore. Let's finish the tour. I mean, wow. Okay. So as he shows them into an armory room, he explains what happened exactly 200 years ago. Well, that's very convenient. So we see this prince, you shall be here, your royal highness. Hawkins, Macduff, this is treachery. So we see that the prince was murdered, Prince James is dead, long live Prince Richard, and almost immediately the ghost form of the slain prince comes out and strangles everyone who betrayed him. So, yeah, that was a mistake on your part. Had Prince James lived, he would have been ruler of the greatest empire in history of the world, but his spirit lives on within these very walls. And he tells them that if the castle were ever to be destroyed, that he would return. That maybe the enemy shouldn't bomb them then. So later they're having a security ministries meeting in London, and they decide that they want to pack up and move the castle. I don't can you... Why? I mean, there's so many things that seems wrong with that. You're going to take down the castle and move it, and that's what they're doing. The historic fortress is torn down and carted away stone by stone. Is doing something like that practical or realistic? I mean, I know that this needs to happen to further the story, but would you just ship a castle to another country to ensure that it doesn't get destroyed or something? I mean, it seems wildly impractical, especially with the fact that you're being constantly bombed by a new enemy. Okay, so they load the ship up, and See, several days later, on the outskirts of the U.S., a periscope breaks the waters. So, the enemy was awful close to the American shores. I mean, it says that he's just outside the United States. So, I mean, we had constant patrols out in our waters. Wouldn't we have been more aware of a sub? Okay, so inside the submarine, the enemy gives a crucial command. English ship dead ahead. Make ready. Forward torpedo. Tubes. Range. Fire. So they bomb the ship. And the ship and the castle sink to the depths. And in doing that, it sets the ghost free. Ah, there are arrows. I hate arrows. I mean, I kind of understood where you were going with that. The two smaller panels leading into the bigger one. You didn't need to lead me there. I was already reading it like that without the arrows. So Prince James' spirit. I'm free. I'm free. And you can still see he's in that ghostly form that killed the betrayers. Let's see. We go to another focal point. That night, in front of the Bruce Piddle home on Park Avenue, these two guys bash the chauffeur. Well, make sure the chauffeur is the right one, and then bashes him over the head because they are going to kidnap. Let's see. Her name is Gloria Piddle. So this is a kidnapping thing. So they grab her and they rush her into the car. And someone sees it. Miss Gloria, those men grabbed her. I'll have to notify the police. So the police are notified amazingly fast. And be on the lookout for the pedal limousine. And they see the limousine, and they tail in pursuit of it. Meanwhile, down on New York's waterfront, methinks I should revert to some more earthly form. My appearance may frighten some good citizens. So, he gives himself a corporeal body, reverting from ghost form into human form, and in doing that, he's still dressed in the clothes that he had when he was murdered. So he's in a suit of armor with a sword. Let's see. Little wonder they stare. I must divest myself of these ancient garms and don some modern dress. And he runs into a drunk who actually admires his outfit, and he says, "Hey, let's trade clothes. Let's go over to the dark alley so we can disrobe." Whoa! You really should have said that better. Oh boy, wait till my little woman sees me in these fancy duds. Now, as he changes clothes, he tries to absorb some of the vernacular. I must remember these garments are called duds, and the stranger's name is always Bud. What a particular tongue these moderns speak. So, as he's walking into the middle of the road, he is missed by the limousine, and then he is struck by the patrol car. It's an unusual-looking patrol car. I mean, was that what they drove in the 1940s? I mean, there's no police badge on the side. There's no sirens. There's nothing really indicating that it's a police car in any way. So they hit him, and what a break. Yeah, probably nothing left of the poor guy. Look, he's alive. What kind of gag is this? So they think that he is somehow in league with the kidnappers because by hitting him, which he should honestly be dead, they lost sight of him. You get in there and shut up. You're going along with us. Because of you, a couple of killers got away with a dame. Her life ain't worth a nickel if we don't catch them. So he decides that he's going to aid the police officers by going into his ghost form. And I read a couple of the issues. The way he goes into the ghost form, this little misty form, is It's always funny looking. And above the speeding car, the mist begins to form. The spirit of Prince James. And the police somehow know that they need to follow the ghost. And as they're following the ghost, hey, wake up, Mike. This guy is dead. We really must have smacked him. Probably died of his injuries. So they think he's dead. And they're still following the ghost, and the ghost leads them to the kidnappers. We're almost there. For the love of heaven, I thought you were dead. They play pretty fast and loose with the way that he goes from his ghost form to this corporeal form that he has created himself. Yeah, he's created his own corporeal form. It's a weird thing. Okay, so they follow the killers to their hideout, and as they get out of the car, they realize it's a trap. It's a trap! Okay, no. That wouldn't be until the 70s. Okay, so he's pushing the police officers back into the car, and he puts himself in front of the hail of bullets. As his mortal body slumps to the ground, the spirit of the prince again emerges. Help, it's a ghost. Yeah, I mean, the corporeal form was hit by a car, and it was riddled with bullets. He created his own corporeal form, which is just a weird thing to say. So I guess that it really doesn't matter if it takes any damages, because he really is just a ghost. Okay, so he starts throwing the guys around, and this ringleader, who's, I swear he's got the ears of a bat. Cover me with that Tommy gun. I'm going to drag that thing's body in here. So he goes and grabs the corporeal form of Mr. Justice. If the ghost's there, if that's a ghost, then there's one thing I can do. Drive a stake through his heart. Try and hold him off a minute. I'll drive this stake. Okay. Now, I applaud the fact that you know that the ghost is coming from this guy's body. Why do you think staking him is going to do any good? He's not a vampire. And that's just myth and lore anyways. Okay, as he swings the spike down, as the kidnapper drives the stake, the body of the martyred prince disappears. Where did the body go? It might enlighten you to know that I can cause my body to disappear at will. I'm afraid that knowledge won't help you. Yeah, and that's what I mean. In some of the other episodes or issues, they play really fast and loose with him going from his ghost form to his mortal form. And I don't really know how much of his mortal form is like really mortal, considering that he can make it reappear and disappear at will. I mean, if he's going to be fighting as a ghost, why does he need the human form at all? I mean, as a ghost, he could just eavesdrop on people. It's a weird thing. Okay. You have committed your last kidnapping. He thrashes the bad guys around, and he allows the cops to be able to get in. And we'll go ahead and read the last two panels of this comic. Well, Mr. Justice sure caught up with you that time. And there he is in his misform. That's it. I'll call myself Mr. Justice. At last I have found my destiny. As Mr. Justice, I will fight against all corruption and opposition wherever there are crime and criminals, and will find their enemy, Mr. Justice. More thrilling adventures of Mr. Justice will appear in every issue of Blue Ribbon Comics. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned a little bit about Mr. Justice. This isn't the only MLJ character that I want to put on to re-reviews. There's a lot of characters that I did in the early reviews that I didn't do good enough. And later in the MLJ months, I did have the material then. but there are going to be more MLJ characters that I want to bring into this format and do better reviews of. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this. If there's anybody that you'd like to see or like me to go over, you can always drop me a line in the comment section. I love to do requests. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.